Good afternoon. I'm Mayor Tom Barrett, and I'm pleased to be surrounded today by many of our partners who have contributed to the impressive results being announced today. Chief Flynn will be introducing them to you shortly. But both our great men and women who work for the police department and our community partners have been part of what we consider to be a very, very successful period in sustaining the reduction of crime in the city of Milwaukee. As the mayor of the city of Milwaukee, and I know that Alderman Hines, Alderman Murphy, other aldermen who are interested in this feel the same way I do, public safety has been our highest priority. That means keeping our citizens safe. No other issue has consumed more of my personal time, their time, and the attention than reducing crime in our neighborhoods. And I'm proud to say that in the last 2 years, we have begun to see real progress. I'm pleased to report the numbers we're releasing today confirm the downward trend in crime and that trend is continuing. In the first 6 months of 2009, we have seen nearly 3,200 fewer crime victims in the city than a year ago at this time. Again, 3,200 fewer individuals that are crime victims in the city of Milwaukee from just a year ago. Violent crime is down 15.5% from a year ago, and an astonishing 27% since 2007. I applaud Chief Flynn, the men and women of the Milwaukee Police Department, neighborhood residents, faith leaders, and others who are working together in partnership to make our neighborhoods safer. And this could not be done if it were not for these partnerships. They are real partnerships that are growing and getting stronger. I'd like to just take a second and share one example of excellent police work. We were on this location earlier this year because on May 7th, there was a 12-year-old girl who was shot. She was shot while sitting inside her home. On July 1st, Milwaukee police arrested the suspect in the shooting of this 12-year-old girl. District 3 officers, along with gang unit officers and detectives, worked in collaboration to comb the streets until they located the suspect and arrested him. You may recall 3rd District police officers were joined by members of neighborhood organizations and the clergy in canvassing the area around North 39th Street and West Galena Street to help the police. That's the type of partnership we're talking about today that helps us make this a safer city. While I'm deeply gratified by the numbers presented today and stories like the one I just told you, I know there is still much work that needs to be done. That's why I'm proud to have Police Chief Flynn, who has been very effective as our police chief, and I think has done a great job in helping make this city safer. So I would like to introduce to you Chief Flynn. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Barrett. We're also joined today by Council President Hines. Alderman Donovan is supposed to be here. Alderman Murphy is here. Jerry Ann Hamilton from the NAACP is here. All of my district captains are here, as well as numerous captains from the Criminal Investigations Bureau, as well as others who are concerned about reducing crime, fear, and disorder in their neighborhoods. We're here for a good news story. As Mayor Barrett just said, in the first 6 months of this year, we've had nearly 3,200 fewer crime victims than we had during the same period last year. Now, I'll give you a brief overview of the good news. You've got the data in front of you in the fact sheet that we presented to you before the press conference began. And I want to introduce to you some members of the Milwaukee Police Department whose efforts have had a direct result on the numbers that we're presenting today. Our theme really today is sustaining progress. Our goal is to sustain progress, not make it a 6-month issue or a 1-year issue or just a quarterly issue. Our goal is to sustain progress over time. As the mayor indicated, violent crime in the first 6 months of this year is down 15.5%. It's down 27% compared to 2007. That's a big deal. That's a big number. Robbery is down 7% in the first 6 months of this year, but it's down almost 20% compared to 2007. Again, sustained progress over time. Aggravated assault declined by nearly 24% in the first half of this year and dropped by 33% when compared again to 2007. Now, one reason this is important is Aggravated assaults are precursors to homicides. Homicides are frequently highly successful aggravated assaults. Aggravated assaults are the guns and knife crimes that frequently bedevil our neighborhoods. And so when we're able to reduce them by almost a fourth in 1 year, that's a significant impact on the quality of life of threatened neighborhoods. I also want to share with you a real-world example of some of the work of our officers, the work that's behind the low numbers. One reason why we have less crime now than we had a year ago. Where are they? Don't look forward, you three. I have with me police officers John Schott, Officer Fawn Gabrielson, and Sergeant Steve Herman. Now, last Wednesday, Officers Schott and Gabrielson saw a car and stopped the car at 37th and Galena. Now, that's an area that's been a hot spot. If you look at a density map, it's dark blue. We're putting a lot of cops on those dots, trying to disrupt the crime in that area. So they've been paying a lot of attention. When they stopped the car, some of the occupants ran. Well, they stayed there and detained some of the occupants and found out more information, and they then checked the yards for the suspect that had run away. Well, Sergeant Steve Herman shows up and says, you know, this sounds familiar. This car sounds like a car that was involved in a shots fired call last night. Well, the three talked, a gun was recovered in the yards, and the suspect was apprehended. Now, our suspect had been shot the night before. And the point is, he was out of the hospital with a gun looking for retaliation. Because our cops were assertive and in the right place at the right time, they stopped the next crime. So it's very impressive work, and it's a great example of the kind of assertive, intelligent policing that officers are engaged in, and I commend the three of them for their fine efforts. Thank you very much. Now, I frequently over the last year, some of you can probably give my stump speech, talked about the linkages between poverty and crime, and that in many neighborhoods, it's crime that's causing poverty by driving out and deterring economic opportunity and stripping people of their ability to earn an income. Two crimes which are kind of bellwethers for us in this regard are burglary and car theft. Those are the crimes, although homicide obviously grabs the headlines. If your house is burgled or your car is stolen, that's the kind of crime that drives you out of the city. And we've been making a major effort in both crimes. So far this year, stolen cars are down 32% compared to the same time last year. Now, last year at the end of the year, we thought we'd hit a home run because we reduced stolen cars by 15%. We're down 32% this year. And in a city like Milwaukee, for too many of our people, a stolen car equals a lost job. Because they're cut off from transportation, that car is their lifeline. And if we can make a major impact on stolen cars, we're affecting people's lives. Now, at the end of last year, burglary was the only crime that was up. I think we closed the books last year at plus 4%. At the mid-year, we were plus 9%. So, you know, learning something from watching the news, we clearly spun that number that we were making progress because the rate of increase had decreased. Well, we've stayed on top of that issue. We've made a major effort to not only account for our career burglars and to check up on them with probation and parole, but again, to focus our resources where there are spikes and clusters of burglaries. So far this year, burglary is down almost 14.5%. Now, when you consider how much we were up just 1 year ago, that's an over 20% drop in 1 year, which is very impressive in our business, because that is a very difficult crime to interdict, and burglars are tough to find. So it's been terrific work with CIB and the police districts on that number. Now, we recognize that there has been an increase in homicides. Last year at this time we had 33. This year we've got 39. Every death is important. Every death is fully investigated, and with every death we have a moral obligation to see that justice is done. But we do want to make a point that even though it is up 18% this year compared to last year at this time, 2009 represents the lowest number of homicides, for the second lowest number of homicides in the first 6 months in the last 25 years.